evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the McIntosh County Board of Education's work session, July 7th, 2022. If you would please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Our Father God, we do thank you and praise you for this day. Lord God, we thank you for this opportunity that the McIntosh County School Board and staff can serve our students. And God, we pray for our students. We pray that you will continue to keep them safe throughout the summer break and allow them to continue to read and be better. And then, Lord, we pray for the Matthew LeCount family. We lift them up and we pray your strength upon them. These blessings we ask in your Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 3, citizens address the board. No one signed in. Okay. Item number 4 is the approval of our work session agenda. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. McIver, second. Second by Mr. Struggles. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries 4-0. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time I'll turn it over to Dr. Poulos to go through our items.
Just as an administrative note, Ms. McDonald is joining us via video and audio. As it stands right now under items, goal area 1, student success, I just want to remind the board that summer school took place. We had a good summer school. Shelley's going to give you, some of the numbers as far as who took place. But part of our requirement was that our students would still retest. And we wanted to make sure that students understand the significance of the testing process. And so we had students at Todd Grant and at the middle school that tested. At the high school, they will test again here in the fall if they did not meet standards on the EOC. So those tests will still take place. They're going to get another refresh going into the session in early September, I believe. Is that right? For the high school students so that they can get and earn the credit for those EOC courses. On the next area, in the summer read, give that to Ms. Sheets. You want to talk about that real quick?
Sure. Do you want me to talk about that before the other things?
Whichever one.
Okay. Because, well, the reason I'm asking is, do you want me to, the things that we discussed, do you want me to just go ahead and knock them out? All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, so as Dr. Poulos was talking about summer school, so we held summer school from June 9th to June 30th. Todd Grant had an average of about 66 kids going every day, so that was good. That was a lot of growth. And of course, the teacher-student ratio was good, no more than 1 to 10. McIntosh Middle had an average of 35 kids per day, which was really good, especially seeing how only about 47 were invited. So that was a really big turnout. And then MCA, they didn't really do a summer school, if you will, but they did credit recovery, which was really important. They had about an average of 15 per day. They did have a few, Mr. Willis said he had one student who needed to finish Spanish 2, so he did. And then 2 students who were struggling in math, math teacher had them come in, and they actually took and passed a special supports math course over the summer. So that was nice. Okay. And that way they won't have so much regression when they go into take calculus this coming school year. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, is it okay to talk about the board milestone?
Yeah, the scores themselves are embargoed, but we can tell them, generally speaking, what we have been informed of.
So probably a few weeks back, I can't remember exactly, but I gave you the numbers, and numbers sometimes can be random, or just abstract. So it's great to have a reference. So the proof is in the pudding, and when the scores came back, I was very, very excited because while I can't tell you the scores because they're embargoed, I can share with you that we beat our RESA in 7 different areas and the state in 3 different areas, and we have not done that in a long, long time. And the areas that we didn't beat our RESA and state in, we are nipping at their heels, so they better watch out. And I just love the upward trend that we're on, and we've got to keep that up.
Very good.
All right, Rusty, if you will pull up
Processing.
Is it not working?
It's processing.
Yep, I got it.
Okay, and you can scroll, so that would be the elementary list, and then Rosie, if you'll click on that link. Did it populate for you?
Mhm.
So that's our elementary summer school reading choices, and we have our middle school. And I would love for this to be publicized a little more, just so that parents, because I think a lot of times the parents just don't know what the assignments are.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would be great, I would love, when we have our McIntosh reads, I would be interested in sharing with this, maybe some of the preachers, maybe, because I can make this smaller, maybe put it in the bulletins, or just however we can get this out so the community knows.
So the sheets, there are 4 QR codes on
For
the
the
bottom.
high school.
That's for the high school?
Right, so that's for their 4 different English courses or
Awesome.
BOE courses.
Awesome.
Right.
And so basically, message to our parents and our students, we have, about 3.5 weeks left
Right.
to make sure they're doing their summer read.
And it's just important that the high schools are all due by August 11th, whether they have the first block or second block, so we're really trying to get the word out about that. Y'all have any questions? All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next area under goal area B2, organizational effectiveness. Just as a reminder to document that the McIntosh board and the Glenn County board joined together on June 22nd for whole board training. That's been completed. The number of hours were submitted, so congratulate the board on accomplishing that, as well as attending the summer conference for GSBA and getting the hours and professional development that goes along with both of those. So as we stand right now, we are up to date on our hours. Goal on area number 3, fund balance transfer. If you remember, the board approved at our last meeting to transfer the excess fund balance. Typically, we don't have excess fund balance. It's not there. I do think that we've done a very good job of managing the money. And so, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Franklin, but I think we have somewhere around 200,000 that will be transferred out of excess. 250, very good. That gets transferred out, it goes to local projects, I believe. And so that money, we can hold up to 10%, 15% past our budget area that's there. So obviously doing a good job with our managing of the money. And I appreciate all that you do with that, Ms. Franklin. Any questions on fund balance transfer? Sick leave bank annual update. If you can pull up that, our policy requires us to give a general report. Again, the employees who use the sick bank, their names are protected for privacy purposes, but the committee comes together, they review the applications. And as I said, last year at the end, there were 1,698. Again, 8 new employees, we had 59 old employees. We had 1 employee for 33 days and another for 14, so our ending balance as of this last fiscal year was 1718. So we're well soluble with our sick leave bank, so we're doing well. All right, any questions on the sick leave bank? Robin does a very good job managing that. Madam Chair, you had an area here, a quality board application update.
Yes, I have everything in Assembly. I can send you all the link to just look at it. I plan to submit it. We'll need to vote on that just next week, just to say that everyone approves, but I'll send it to you this week to look at. One thing I will say, when you look, they asked for us to have our approved strategic plan in there, and I know that we're working on a new one, but the one that we have, it's going to look like nothing has been done because it hasn't been updated in Assembly. But I will make a note to Tony that the items have been done, they just haven't been updated in the system. But that's the format they want it, so that's the format I'm going to send it. So I don't look for there to be an issue with giving us our quality board because of that, but just in case there is a problem, I did want to bring that to light.
All right, item number 6 is purchase of a real lawnmower. These are the specialty lawnmowers that we use for the football field, the baseball fields, and they're high-end caliber machinery. The one that we have one right now that is kaput that we're looking to try hopefully get repaired. We carried another one as excess, I think 2 or 3 board meetings ago because it was totally gone. We put money aside to do that this fiscal year, so now it's fiscal year. Buying a brand new one is $100,000, and if they give us a slight discount for being a school system, this real lawnmower has very few hours on it. It has brand new blades. Typically the company that we're using, when they come in, these are coming off of very high-end golf courses, and they use them for 3 to 4 years, and then they get a new one and they transfer them out. So this particular one, we talked to the representative today. It's a very good lawnmower, but we need it because right now the only thing we have to mow those lawns is our zero turn. Any questions on the real lawnmower?
Where is that coming from? I didn't see it.
Tippins, is that?
Okay.
Say it.
I believe Tifton.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had 2 quotes, and again, they're very similar. This is a company we have used in the past. All right, so purchase of 6 new buses. I've mentioned this previous. My error not asking the board last time to approve this, but the state is giving us a very large amount of money to purchase buses. That amount that they're giving us is $528,000 plus. Okay, so they're giving us $528,000 to purchase 6 new buses that we need. And again, we have I think 7 that are not air conditioned that are daily routes. So this is a great thing for our system. Unfortunately, that amount of money doesn't purchase a full bus. So in the amount of 153 to 159, it varies based on whether or not it's a larger passenger one or if it's a special ed. What I'd like to ask the board to do is that Tammy and I will work to get the remaining amount that's needed, but we need to come up with around $395,000 to cover the difference. But I want to be able to go ahead and move forward with putting us in the queue by having the board approve it, because we're going to find that money. I feel very confident the money can be moved out of local projects to pay for. This should be a priority for us to have for students on air-conditioned buses, safe buses. But it's going to take us probably upwards of a year to get it. But it's all a matter of getting in the queue, because everybody else in the state is already, they have these allocations as well. Any questions on the purchase of these new buses? And we covered this a couple board meetings ago. So, item number 8, computer replacement for administrative staff, not to exceed $71,000. Mr. Boone, can you hit that real quick?
Sure. We are looking, it is time for all of our front office locations to get their computer replacements. We're ending a 5-year cycle. We're looking at purchasing 34 computers, 76 monitors, Windows dual screen monitors, and all the mounts and accessories needed for that for all 3 front office locations.
And the cost is coming off of a state contract?
It's coming off the state contract, and then it's ESSER 3 is the funding that we're looking at using. It is something that was planned in the budget and during the budget retreat.
All right. Item 9 is I'm asking the board to surplus the interactive panels that we removed off the walls from Todd Grant. They're right now 45. The list is there. Carrying those as excess allows them to put out for individuals to bid on the purchase of those. There are a variety of different things that are wrong with them or right with them. It depends on which one you get, but we should get something out of them based on our putting them out there.
Could we back up to those computers just a second? Because I didn't see anything in here about them, the number of them, how many, and all of that.
Final quote back from the vendor. I did use pricing where we purchased these specific devices before to get this number, but they're verifying all the pricing for us. We purchased some a month ago, and I used that pricing to get it on the board agenda, so we didn't have to push it until August
Okay, and these you said were for the front office, the offices at the schools?
At all the schools, yes.
Okay, okay.
So it will cover all 3 front offices, get everybody on the same exact computers in the front office as they went. So we're replacing, I believe 2017 is when we purchased the computers they're currently using. So we're at the end of that 5 year. They're officially out of warranty this month.
Okay.
So these are going to the schools.
These will go to the schools and split between the 3 front office locations.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sorry.
I'm sorry. Any questions on where we are right now? We're up through 9, getting ready to do 10. All right, 10 is a discussion of the June 22 financial report. So, Ms. Franklin?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We turn to page 1.
See if Rusty can pull that up for us.
I'm working right.
Next page. There you go. The general operating account, we begin the month of June with 2.3 million. We have receipts of 1.9 million, disbursements of 2.2 million, leaving us with a balance in the general operating account of just over 2 million. General fund revenues, page 34. Yeah, just wanted to point out, with the school year 100% complete, the tax revenues of 8.4 million, we have collected 91% of the current year net levy. Excuse me. So we still have a couple of months collections that will be accrued in this number, so that is not our final number. And we have collected 107% of our budget for the tax revenues. Next page 35 for the totals. Total revenues for the year are at 15.9. That's backing out the 2 million general fund to general fund transfer, which brings us to 106% of our budgeted revenues for the year. So really good news for our revenues. The next page 36. I actually go to the last page of the expenditures, page 37. Total expenditures for the year after backing out the $2 million general fund to general fund transfer is 15.9, which is 105% of our budgeted 15.2 million. But the reason for that is because we did have an additional $1 million transfer into the local projects fund right here at the end of June. So when I backed out all of the transfers out of the budget and out of the expenditures, we actually came in at expended 88% of our budget, backing out all the transfers. So we did pretty well on the expenditure side as well. And page 42, the fund balance, we currently have an ending fund balance of 2.3 million. There'll be some, like I said, some more tax accruals and probably some June expenditures coming in, but that number should be pretty close to what we close out at.
Does that 2.3 already account for the 250 that you've transferred out?
Yes, everything's
already
yep.
out. Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay, page 114, school nutrition. Their ending June 30th cash balance was 270,776. Page 126, local projects, 2.9 million. You can see we did do the transfers into the local projects from the money market of the $1 million and the transfer from the general fund of 250,000. Those are both posted. Page 129, the money market account. Again, showing the transfer out of $1 million. We're just over $1 million in the money market account. Page 131, the Georgia One Fund debt service account. We had East Bluffs receipts of $153,000, ending balance of $1.3 million in our SPLOST account. And the June receipts were up 6.8% from June of last year. So we're still on the increase. That's all I have. Are there any questions?
No, ma'am, I don't have any.
Thank you, Ms. Tammy.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. All right, so that picks up on the next area. Make sure I'm good on where we're at. Any questions on the board meeting minutes? Again, if you'll read through those at some point, get back with Ms. Lane or myself if you have any corrections for those. And then we'd ask the board to approve those with any changes that may come at the next regular business meeting. Next area up here, we have several board policies that we're going to look at. The first one up here is board policy BCBI, public participation. I have not attached a policy to this, and the reason is that one of the changes in the law this year was that we had to define what a disruption would be or could be, and then what actions we would take if somebody was to disrupt our board meetings. And so guidance is supposed to come from the Department of Ed. We haven't received it yet, but I'm waiting for that so I can define exactly what the intent of the law was. But, you know, we have a current policy that allows for how we will proceed with public participation. But if we were to remove somebody for a particular reason, we have to define the reason why we would remove them and then what a potential consequence might be. So and I noted that just because it is something that came out of this last legislative session. Item number 13, board policy. I gave a copy of it to everyone. Again, I'd ask you to carefully review this one. In doing so, there are many counties right now moving towards adopting a policy of this nature. This particular one mirrors pretty close to a lot of those other counties and how they handle this. This is consistent with the Fish Code of Georgia 1611-130.1 that allows for the arming of employees. And so the policy itself, everything that the law dictates, and Mr. Braun and I have worked with it, is specified in this particular policy. This is not carte blanche. This is very, very structured and very limited as far as who can have access. So if you will take a look at that at some point, we will have further discussions about it. Just like the rest of these policies, it'll be put out there for 30 days until we ask for approval. Any questions on that particular policy? All right, so the next policy up here is the health and physical education. That's policy IDB. And so the changes that went into effect with the state board rules had us include vaping as one of the requirements. And also it requires that students in the high school courses for health must take a course in AED and how to use it. So that's something that has to be implemented, and that's been added to this policy and made it consistent with what the state board rules are. A lot of that still remains the same from what we've had in the past. The next item here is unstructured break time. That's IEDA. And if you recall, about 4 years ago, this policy was up and the state approved a revision to the law what basically required for a break time primarily at the elementary school. And it also specified that you would not punish a student for academics or anything else and say you would withhold recess. The governor vetoed that at that time 4 years ago. Well, this is structured a little differently, and so it does just basically give the parameters that says to the local board, establish what you want to do. I did insert in there, and if you want to have a discussion about it, but it basically is that for the right reasons, they'll be structured. The principal will make sure there's good supervision, but that you could withhold for certain reasons a recess for a student, depending upon what's there. So again, that would sit out there for 30 days as well. In 8th grade, it just states that they can develop their procedures for break time. A little harder at middle school, but bottom line of it is that they have within their schedule time that they're able to be together, and socialize is an important aspect as well. All right, I will tell you that the other thing that I added to the physical education was the requirement that we do a yearly physical assessment. So exams and PD classes that we're supposed to make sure those get done. Divisive concepts, complaint resolution, and so, the policy, if you remember what Mr. Hartley laid out to us in our legal brief, is that Divisive concepts are defined as, you'll see there, and again, I think that should be an I, I'll make that correction. But there are so many different definitions of what could fit that bill, and then it tells you what you can and can't do. And then there are procedures written in here that who they reported to, and then what steps and timelines that must be complied with in order. It's a very lengthy policy. There is some irregularities in the timeline, but that is what's specified in the law, which I think is going to have to be corrected at some point because it doesn't jive right. But bottom line of it is, we'll make sure that our folks get educated on it. If somebody complains, that we'll go through a reasonable steps in the complaint process. All right, next policy that's there is the Parents' Bill of Rights, and again, this was, AKBC was material harmful to minors. This is a complaint resolution procedure, and it's separate from the previous policy in that there might be a book out there that we're asking our students to read that does not meet the divisive concepts, but it might be offensive to somebody. So the policy then directs it, how do we resolve that? And so, the process, the steps that must unfold. And if you remember that time with Mr. Hartley, carefully monitoring it, the bigger part of it is to make sure that we are watching what goes into our media centers and into our classrooms, still allow for some age appropriateness, but at the same point, there is something in the law that dictates that if we deem something as appropriate as a board, then we have to put it out on the website that says we deem this appropriate, why we think it. So it's, but it is crafted and consistent with the TSBA as well as the state legislation intent. And material harm for the minors complaint, similar to that, those same concerns, and the Parent Bill of Rights allows for parents to complain about what's there, is also to look specifically at what curriculum is presented and within 2 weeks of the start of a grading period. And there are steps that need to unfold as part of that, and who gets to look at it, etc. And again, this policy is consistent with that review. I know that's a lot of information. We've gone through this already in length for a couple hours, but this now puts it in writing for us to look at. And if you'll spend the time to look through it, it is consistent with the legal requirements. Barring, I will have a couple other policies that we'll need to look at over the next couple months. One of them is going to be the facility use policy. It's very old. We still have a lot of policies that are dated 2002 that, there just need a little tweaking, and to bring them up that says we just haven't left them on the books. We're going to review them and make sure they're good. But the facility use one is something that I'm a little concerned about because, we offer opportunities for people to use it, but it still costs the system money, and there are people involved in it that I want to make sure that we all look through that again and update it. All right, so barring anything on that area, the next area will be facilities with Mr. Muscle. Any questions up to that point from the board?
Great evening, board. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. My first agenda item is solar panels. I'm excited to say that we are back on track. We did take a pause to make sure that everything was in line with our insurance. It was important that we were secure and we knew that how we were covered and how the roofs were covered, and to step back a few days and make sure that all was submitted properly was a smart thing to do. But we're looking at a July 18th start date to restart. They're hoping to still get it done in the next 3 weeks before school starts. It's going to be a fast and furious to finish up Todd Grant and get the middle school. We'll see if they can make it happen, but that's the goal. I'm excited about this specifically because Georgia Power's rates are going up, and so this might end up being a really good thing for McIntosh County. We're locked in at that 8 cents per kilowatt, and if it's costing a lot more, we should see a significant savings.
We've been paying on average a little over 11, sometimes 12.5 cents a kilowatt hour, and we're locked in, like you said, to that 8 cents a kilowatt hour. It progresses up with a little bit of a change each year, but I know many of the electric companies out there have already set new rates. Fuel costs, 80% of electricity is generated through fossil fuels. So gas prices are up, that means electricity is going up. So this could be a great thing. Now, I would say this, the elementary school, 90% of that is done for the solar panels. I mean, we're close to finishing that one up. And so that's the bigger of the two projects. But we've done everything we need to do at this point, and we expect that they'll come back in Monday and finish it up. Comes that storm.
So,
Tell them the truth.
item B is McIntosh County Middle School kitchen project update. Really, really liking to see the progress that we are having on the kitchen. If you've been in there, then you'll see that all the drywall is up, the floors have all been started to be prepared for actual flooring. We had a little bit of a snafu on what tiles we're using, so we're back to the drawing board on that. We are still in a supply chain situation. We know that our freezer's not going to get here on time, and so I'm not sure 1,000% that we're going to hit our opening of school date, but we're still working towards that. But if not, we still have a contingency plan. Everything's coming together famously. They are breaking ground outside of the building, working on they've already set the grease trap in, a huge grease trap. They're tying it into all the plumbing. The concrete's been cut. A lot of hard work, a lot of the big work has been done. So project's coming along great. Again, it's a supply chain issue that's the only thing really holding us back from even a more rapid finish date. But when you get a chance to come out and look, it's a great time.
I would tell you that one of the problems that we're wrestling with right now is that, well, it's resolved now, but it took some time. It was hooking up the sewer line. Where Mr. Tootin's plan showed us tying in right there in the sidewalk, they broke up the sidewalk, pulled it up, and underneath was this gigantic vault. I mean, it's huge. It contained all the water, and the old sewage lines used to pass through it. Well, after a lengthy putting dye in and figuring out where it went, that vault was discontinued quite some time ago. And so we had to find another line in, and that took about 3 days to figure out where to tie it in. They did find it, but they had to tear up a little bit more concrete, and they ultimately did tie it in, and now the water flows from the new kitchen to the actual city's lines. But that process, I'm going to have a discussion with Mr. Tootin and Mr. Tyson. That should not be on us. But I'm laying that out to let the board know that, but we're going to have a discussion about that because they did what the design showed.
Where do we stand on the moving the gas?
Atlanta Gas was supposed to come out last week. They were also supposed to come out today. So I don't know if they came out today.
They didn't make it out today, but hopefully they'll be out tomorrow, and we can move it to the next level. It's not a huge undertaking. It's just getting all the pieces in place to actually get them to schedule it up. So we'll see how that plays out. But we're constantly trying to get a hold of them and get on their list to get an actual number and see what they say they will.
It's our goal to have that done before the students get back.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's our goal.
Yeah, we want that done before they get in the building.
Any questions on the kitchen project? It's coming together famously. It's going to be a great addition to our facility, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunities that it provides us moving forward with the opening up of the front of that school. And painting of Todd Grant Elementary. Boy, I walked into Todd Grant Elementary this morning, and they've done an excellent job. All the classrooms down in the first hallway has been done. All the offices have been, and all the hallways and bathrooms, everything's done almost. We've got some classrooms on the back walkway that still need to be finished up, and we will have that done before school starts. We're working with the floor crew and have that taken care of. So Todd Grant's going to be looking like a brand new school for the start of the school year.
There was a little communication error in the painting of the back hallway that we're going to have to resolve. So, and I'll give you an update on that so that y'all understand. But that back hallway, The rooms did not get painted, but they will get painted.
Was that not in the quote?
It was miscommunicated.
By the
By
contractor?
Communicated it, that
By
was
us.
my miscommunication. So I'll take that on the chin, but we're gonna.
I just wanted the board to have that information up front because right now our guys are in there mudding, painting, getting it ready.
But they weren't paid for that.
They were not. It wasn't part of their contract, nor was it part of the estimate for the other place to do it either.
Okay.
What was that original quote?
54.
Okay.
I think 50
It
something.
was substantially lower than the other,
It was almost $100,000 less than the other
$100,000
one.
less than the other. Fee and
Oh, I
deal.
know that. But now you're gonna have to pay to finish it up.
That's right. And I'll come back to let everybody know what that is so that you'll understand. All right, Mr. Massa, if you'll pick up on COVID.
Yes, we had some CARES Act money left for COVID supplies, and we made an initial order that will prepare us for the start of the school year. Even though that we aren't under a mask mandate, we will have as many masks as needed. All the COVID supplies that are needed for sanitizing the tables and everything that we need is already been purchased and on its way. Again, even though we have no open COVID cases at this time being summer, we are not taking off our foot off the gas. We're going to continue to make sure that we are doing all the things that are not just for COVID, for general health safety. Washing hands, covering your mouth when you cough, all the little things that we learned over this COVID pandemic, we're going to continue making sure that we put those practices in play. Again, all our COVID stuff has been purchased. We're ready for the start of the new school year, and hopefully this is starting to wax away and become a thing of the past.
The item 2 is school security. We'll discuss that in executive session.
Okay.
This is a new report that I asked Mr. Massa to present. In the last couple of years haven't been normal years. We normally would have provided this, but this is a comparison of discipline so that you understand what our administrators deal with on a regular basis.
If you'll see that this is the 2-year trend data. You see the first one is 2020, 2021. When I say last school year, the last school year before the end of this one.
Rusty, can you make that a little bigger, please?
What you see here is the cumulative enrollment at Todd Grant was 651 kids. That's throughout the whole year. Some may have come and left. And with 0 referrals, 579, that's 89% of our kids at Todd Grant had 0 referrals. And then 11%, 72, had 1 or more referrals. That doesn't mean that it was just 1 referral, but at least 1 referral. So you can see that only 11% of the kids made up 72 of those referrals. A little bit, almost the same numbers for this year in 2020, 22, 21, 22. I won't read through every school, but you'll see the system. I was really happy to see that 76% of our kids had 0 referrals. That's throughout the whole system. That's pretty impressive. I'll say this, that I've talked to a bunch of teachers, and anybody coming from McIntosh, there is a lot of yes sirs, yes ma'am, and respectful kids. We have parents that are raising their kids right. We have a good community, and we have great kids. Dr. Poulos has mentioned it in interviews. Everybody says, man, McIntosh kids are good, all in all. We do have, like every school system, there is a few that are more difficult, and you can see those percentages. What's making up the bulk of the referrals is not the bulk of the students. They're special cases in that situation. So again, you can see that we've been very consistent, even though that 2021 was a COVID year and it was pretty rough. We stayed pretty consistent this year. I think that our administrators are following a progressive discipline plan. plan that's laid out, and we look at everything together, and we make team decisions, and it's working because of the discipline plan that we put in place. Dr. Pulison and myself always say, stay firm, consistent, and make sure that we are equitable throughout the whole process of disciplinary action. Any questions on that chart? It's got some great information on there.
Does that include bus patrols or just campus?
Bus patrols included.
All right. Go to the next area on there, please.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Massa. Again, just as a kind of a reminder, we're going to have on the 5th of August with the General Assembly. We'll hold it in the auditorium at the high school. We'll talk about the mandatory training that must take place. And so there's mandated training, there's suicide prevention, there's all these things that we're required to give. And so we'll also have our page representative there. One of the attorneys comes in and he talks about, you know, the code of conduct. All of that will take place at the meeting on the 5th of August, Friday the 5th of August. Shelley, you want to talk real quick about the visible learning and professional development?
Sure. We got visible learning, professional development coming up. I'm super excited about it. So that's going to be the first 2 days of pre-planning. So I'm hoping that I don't get, you know, tomatoes and things thrown at me. But honestly, I think the teachers are going to love it afterwards because I think it's something that they haven't understood for years. And so now I think they're finally going to understand the why behind it. But I do want to share just a smidge, and I won't take up too much time, but just a smidge of good news. So I've been meeting with Todd Grant, and we did a book study, and we've been meeting a little bit over the summer, and we came up with what are called the learner dispositions. So it's things like perseverance, to say. And it's an acronym, and it spells out stripes for tigers. And it's really cute. Anyway, I shared it. I shared our graphic and our definitions and all of that with the people from Portland with visible learning. And then I got a share request from somebody I didn't know. And so I emailed our rep at Portland and I said, is this okay to share this document? And she called me and she said, Shelley, I have to tell you, I was so excited by that I shared it with my mentor, my person in visible learning. He's now retired, but I wanted to show him what good things y'all are doing over there. And so that's just a small piece. So if we can keep on track, she said, you know, get ready to present the next cases. And I'm like, oh, you know, and those are words, but still, I don't think she'd say that. You know, she might say it, but you know what I'm saying. But show her mentor and things like that. So I'm just really excited that we're doing some good work. So
Absolutely.
it'll be great for the teachers. I think to really understand it and get into it because they're going to love it. It's going to be one of the best things that's happening for us. So,
Thank you.
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Item 3, Leadership Academy, just as a point, last year we went through and once a month we had individuals at the schools identified as potential leaders come together. We met in this room mostly, but we brought in guest speakers. We talked about a variety of different subjects. You know, us building our teacher leader capacity as well as potential administrators is absolutely important. We want to try to grow our own, in other words. So it's really important to us. We'll pick that back up in September. We'll run it through September through April. And we meet that, like I said, once a month. There are requirements that they have. They're visiting. You saw them come visit the boards. They also had to go out and visit the other boards so they could see the difference in how things are structured and how things are carried on. But there's a great capacity that's there as we try to build that with internally and grow our own.
Dr. Hoover,
Yes, sir.
the Leadership Academy, how many participation of teachers you have?
Usually we ask each school to identify 2 to 3 that they thought could really just step up, but if they felt that they needed to have more, you know, we were open. It's not meant, though, to be, you know, not a recommendation from an administrator. If they don't see them, then it's really by invitation from the principal. All right, so the next areas that I had personnel to go over in executive session along with, as I mentioned earlier, Madam Chair, the security stuff. Under goal area 5, Mr. Mouse, will you cover the open house areas, please? I think you gave them that.
We have an open house hit all the schools. It worked in the past. It was a great plan. All the principals were super excited about modeling it again after how it worked in the past. So I think that's a great little plan for us.
Just remind us, is this Thursday, the 4th of August?
You're correct.
All right, thank you. Any questions on an open house? All right, next area up there is dedications, and I just wanted to remind us of a conversation we've had in the past, and it's my recommendation that the board agree and approve the following recommendations. The high school would like to dedicate the media center in honor of Ms. Thelma, or often referred to as Mother Hunter. She was a teacher and a substitute, and just an amazing lady. And unfortunately, she passed. But they'd like to honor her memory by dedicating that media center in her honor. And then the NCAA band room, we'd ask that the board consider honoring and dedicating that to Flo and Reggie Jackson, both huge contributors to our program. Florence Jackson was a teacher for a very, very long time and a board member for 14 years. And so again, great individuals to be recognized for a long period of time. And then sometime between the time that we moved from the old Todd Grant to the new Todd Grant, the media center at Todd Grant was already dedicated to, it was at Dr. Brown, I believe. She was a former principal, long time service here. I was able to read through some of the comments that were made back in 1990 that she made, and it's really kind of interesting to go back and pick up on how the same sentiments are pretty relevant today regarding our concern with our youth and literacy and things of that nature. But I'd like to ask the board to consider rededicating it in her honor again, so that we can put a plaque up and we put a picture back up, and we do it at the new Todd Grant.
Absolutely.
Any questions on any of those three? Any comments from anybody?
I think that's a great idea.
I think this is a great idea, especially for what each of them have done for our school system. I mean, the years that they dedicated to the school system, and then after that, that they did the years that they gave after they retired from the school system and still gave back. So I think this is great, and I'm 100% in support.
We'll put some plaques together and pictures, and we'll set dates, and we'll do this nice. We'll do it nice.
Okay.
So.
Dr. Pools, will that be open to the community?
Absolutely.
You'll have a lot of people who want to come.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we'll set the dates in advance, so that if anybody comes, family members can come, and we'll do this. All right. Next area up here is just a comment that I'd like to make on summer school enrichment. The Boys and Girls Club is right on the edge. We're hoping that this month the state board will approve the 21st Century Grant for the Boys and Girls Club. That's going to amount to $300,000 and some a year for 5 years. They replicated the process this summer and offered free tuition. I had over 100 kids that came to summer school. And I'll call it summer school, summer enrichment, where teachers taught. They were able to rotate to different places, and they accomplished an awful lot with those students during the time. They're still doing it now. They have trips every day. We'll continue on through the rest of summer. But that's a great partnership that we have right now with them. When the state board meets at the end of this month, we'll know about the issue of the 21st Century Grant and how that unfolds. But for a small community like us, if we're able to get it, that's huge. That is huge, because it usually goes to the bigger places. But I think because we have such a good relationship, and the fiscal responsibility falls in line with the Boys and Girls Club, but our teachers will teach the kids, and we'll keep things going. The test scores that we've talked about, the accomplishments that we've talked about, we're really on that edge of going, and we need to keep that going. So. Madam Chair, I don't have anything else other than to go into executive session.
Okay. Is Sandy still on? Okay.
Still here.
I just wanted to make sure, because I was going to call for a vote. Okay, could I have a motion to go to executive session for personnel and security? Okay, motion by Ms. McDonald, second by Mr. Straggles. All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, we'll return.
Sandy, I'm gonna close this one out and go open it back in.
Tammy, if you want to keep that, and
Oh,
and I thought, yeah.
What
Yeah,
you want me to do
I
with that?
apologize. I need to bring that to
What you want me to do with that? Oh, you have that for me.
But again,
Oh, I got you.
I don't,
I think you
I
were
can't
passing
tell
me
you
a
when
note.
they dedicated it.
Ready? Everybody, you already got us on? Hopefully not. Okay. Okay, the McIntosh County Board of Education had adjourned to executive session to discuss personnel and security issues. Could I have a motion to return to open session?
Motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. McIver, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Straggles. All those in favor? Motion carries 5-0. All right, board comments. Sandy, you want to go first?
I'm good, thanks.
All right.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. Excited about getting a new school year ramped up.
Okay.
I don't have anything either, Madam Chair.
Okay. And I just want to say continue to enjoy your last few weeks of summer and be ready to come back and hit the ground running.
That's right.
Yep.
Dr. Bullock?
That's it. We're a little over 3 weeks from now. School will start right back up. I want to encourage our students to finish their summer read.
I did mention to Dr. Poulos about Dr. Adela Brown that she did serve as our superintendent.
She did.
She did.
For some time, so just thought I'd bring that up.
Worthy rededication.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mr.
Outstanding
Braun?
lady.
Nothing? All right. We are adjourned. Have a good night. Don't get